If your local Sam's Club is out of laser dick, let's try that again.
Nailed it.
If your local Sam's Club, oh geez, this is gonna be super hard. If your local Sam's Club is out of video disc copies of Morbius, maybe you should get it on Game Boy Color.
Bog Panda.
Hi, everybody. This is Kelly, and welcome back to Bog Panda. I am not able to talk tonight. I'm at KELLYTHUL on Twitter and Instagram, and now I'm going to hand over to the person next to do all the talking for this episode.
Hi, I'm Dr. Mike, at Official Pagan on everything. Excuse my laughing. I'm not sure whether or not you guys saw it because I don't handle the edits on this, but Kelly gave an amazing introduction to this video. Make sure you guys like, subscribe, leave a comment, turn on notifications, hit up the merch store. Maybe they'll let you buy something.
Yeah, I'm torn. You'll know if you're still with us whether I kept in my attempts or not. But yeah, not a strong start. And then it just kept going downhill from there. But onto the show. So
that's a shirt, by the way.
What's that?
That's got to be a shirt, by the way. Your intro.
I don't think we'll clear the jackbooted thugs at Teespring with that, but we shall try. Teespring, the Hanson of t-shirt manufacturers, start a war on Teespring. But anywho, there's this really cool YouTube channel out there called The Wolf Den. With a unique spelling, probably how I would say it, the way things are going lately, but WLUFF, Wolf Den. Super sharp guy, does some real interesting things. And one of the most interesting things he did is he's a bit of a contrarian in that when Tenet came out and the director was just making all this noise, much like Tom Cruise with Maverick, to say, oh, this, you can only watch Tenet on the big screen. It's the only way to see it. It's the only thing to do. So he took that as how can I go as completely opposite as possible of that? And so he put Tenet on Game Boy Color discs or Game Boy Color cartridges.
A Game Boy Advance was Tenet.
Oh, Game Boy Advance was Tenet?
Yeah.
Okay. So he did that. So then Dune came out, and some of the similar noises coming around. This is best observed this way. But he just didn't get around to it in time. But then Morbius came out, and he just felt, now's my chance. And so he has created, for this one, on the Game Boy Color, a version of Morbius that I believe would have taken in total 36 cartridges to capture the entire movie on, because you can only fit so much on, even with the compression.
I believe that's what he said. Yeah.
Yeah. And shot, at that, blistering 6 frames a second frame rate. I think 192 by 128 resolution. So it's, it's surround sound. It's like 4K, but not, but just brilliant to go and do that. And apparently the code to do this, somebody wrote some stuff to do it, wrote it in C, and you would have to compile it to run it. He had put it out and then left it and came back and put out another version. And it, I guess, took a little bit of effort for him to kind of get that program up and running. But once he did, apparently it worked like a champ and could do this. And so we're obviously going to include a link to his video that kind of shows some clips of Morbius and also a little bit of the process to kind of get there. Again, Dr. Mike and I, when we come across these super clever people that are doing interesting things, kind of always like to shine a little bit of a light on them and talk about them. So what were your thoughts? And do you think Jared Leto is best served on Game Boy devices?
Absolutely. That is the only way you should be enjoying something from Jared Leto. Are you a Jared Leto guy, sir?
I am not. I'm not.
Yeah, he's a real hard pass for me. And I got swindled. He was in a movie called Requiem for a Dream. I don't know if you're familiar with that movie.
Not that one. No.
Excellent movie. Not because of him, apparently, but excellent movie. He happens to be in it. And I was like, that movie was great. And some other movie came out starring him. And I was like, I'm going to go see that because he was in Requiem for a Dream. I was like, wow, this is garbage, this movie. And he's particularly bad in it. And it's only gotten worse from there because he started a band. There are implied air quotes there for anybody who's just listening to this, called 30 Seconds to Mars. I'm not a fan of their band, but they did release an amazing documentary. So Jared Leto made a documentary about himself.
As you do.
That he made about himself and about how brilliant his music career is. It was recommended to me by a few people, and I do love, as we talked about on our Halix episode, because I'm into music, I do enjoy watching music related things, even if it's bands I don't like. So I already didn't like 30 Seconds to Mars, but I figured, I'll get something out of this documentary. There's a scene in the movie that whenever people ask me why I don't like Jared Leto, this is what I refer to. You can find it easily online. There's a scene in the movie where he's out. I forget what's going on, but a lot of the documentary is focused on him fighting with the record company over 30 Seconds to Mars at that time, new album that they wanted to make. And there was like financial fights with the record company. He goes out of his house. And the one thing I'll give him credit for, I'm pretty sure that's his real house. This isn't like MTV Cribs where artists would rent properties and things like that to make themselves look much, much wealthier than they really were. I'm pretty sure it was his real house. It was a nice house, but it wasn't like, anything extravagant or crazy or anything. It was a nice, large single home, but it was, nothing crazy. So pretty sure that's Jared Leto's real house. So I do appreciate that. And like his brother was like passed out in the basement and stuff like that. And it's like, yeah, I'm pretty sure that's his house. He went out, at some point in the documentary, he's emotional about everything that's going on and all this turmoil with the record company. So he decides he's going to go out for a walk on the beach. And this is the West Coast, so it's hot. He dresses like the Unabomber. So full of the hoodie, the glasses, the whole thing, and is being followed by a film crew because he's making a movie about himself. So he's walking along a public beach dressed like the Unabomber, where, people are swimming and stuff because it's a beach and sunny. And he's dressed like that. So clearly like drawing as much attention to himself as he possibly can. And so, of course, like people are looking at him and with no sense of irony whatsoever. He's like, see these people staring at me? I can't even leave my house. I'm so famous. And just rants on and on about how, he's the biggest thing that's happened in their lives today, kind of thing is the attitude of it. And I was just like, wow, this is amazing. And not in a good way. Like it would be great if he was in on the joke and like he was, making some sort of mockery of it, but not at all. Like there was no understanding of, I'm sweating, dressed like the Unabomber on a public beach, surrounded by a film crew, drawing as much attention to myself as I possibly can, and then lashing out at other people for looking my way when I did everything I could to make them look my way. So not a fan of that guy, not a fan of his music or of his work. Although the one thing I will say to his credit, I don't think his terrible Joker is entirely his fault. I think that it was a bad idea for the character, so you can't entirely blame him for that. Yeah, I don't think his performance helped.
No.
But yeah,
he pulled out of the nosedive a little bit, but nope.
Yeah, but like he didn't write it that way, so it was always going to be bad. You can't blame him entirely for that. Again, a better actor could have maybe polished it a little, but it was always going to turn out like that. So that I don't blame him for, but I'm not a fan. And I do think everything that's happened with Morbius, which I've not seen, I do think everything that's going on with Morbius is hilarious, particularly the re-release in theaters. Did you follow any of that?
No.
So Morbius came out. So Morbius was supposed to be made many, many years ago. He was supposed to be in Blade 2. the Morbius character, which Blade was the start of the Marvel movies. It's not considered part of the MCU, but that's actually the start of it. And it's the first one where you see the Marvel Studio logo and everything in the beginning. So that's actually where all that started, because there's a bunch of Marvel movies throughout the 80s and early 90s, and they're garbage. They're really, really, really bad movies. So Marvel had pretty much run their brand into the ground as far as making movies. So they decided that they were going to kind of co-produce their own movies. They had to take charge of it if they were going to bring it back. So they chose Blade as the movie to come out with, which seemed like an odd choice at the time because he's kind of a second string character in their Tomb of Dracula world that they had. Morbius comes from that as well. So he was supposed to be introduced in the second movie, and that didn't happen because they switched directors. And then they were going to bring him into the third movie, I think, and once again switch directors. So it didn't happen. So at some point along the way, I guess, because the MCU took off and got so big, and of course, this is part of the Sony properties that they still have a hand in. So Sony is trying to capitalize on all the Marvel stuff they can while they still have some of those licenses. So Morbius got his own movie, since Marvel is now doing a new Blade movie entirely under their purview. Of course, they picked Jared Leto because who else has proven themselves in the world of comic book movies but the Joker himself? The movie came out tanked, as literally anybody called who saw any trailer for the movie. It was so bad, though, that it was trending for days on Twitter, on YouTube, on everything else, because people were just making these videos and memes mocking the movie and how bad the failure was. Sony just saw that it was trending and decided to do a big re-release of the movie. So even though it had been pulled out of most theaters after a couple of weeks in theaters, they decided to do a full relaunch across screens, promo campaign and everything. So not only did the movie fail once, it failed again, much harder the second time, after they spent even more money re-releasing it. So they actually drove it into the ground way further than it was ever going to be. Like, at least once the failure the first time, what a lot of people don't realize is very few movies make real money theatrically. They really make their money on video, or video on demand in this case. So at least, yeah, they lost money on the theatrical release, but they would eventually make that back, licensing it to streaming services and selling it digitally. Not now. They really made sure that there was just no way that they would not lose money on this movie. Like, it's such a colossal marketing failure. And even the people who were talking about just had an insane field day with it. Like, how did they not look into why the movie was trending?
Yep. Yeah, and I did actually, on the first release, see it.
So, did you? Nice.
I did.
I haven't seen it yet. What was your thoughts?
So not an all-time fave. won't be in the top 10. Hurt less than Trolls 2. So, and the continuing of things is that I was in less pain on that. I just found it kind of dull to a degree, and then actually really surprised that so Matt Smith's in it, and he's ill in the movie, or in the early stages, and the prosthetics that they used, or the CGI that they used, it looked pretty much like prosthetics to kind of drive the point home that he wasn't well, were some of the most god-awful, just distracting. So bad they were distracting on that. And that was the one part that I felt was like really that. But by and large, for the most part, I just could never get invested in it overall. And to the extent that there's a post-credit scene, and I'm usually really good about remembering the post-credit scene and where the connections are. And I could tell you there was a post-credit scene. I could tell you there was a little bit of a Marvel connection to it. Couldn't tell you what it was right now. Maybe there, you can see there was the connection in the post-credit scene.
Yeah, and that's kind of across the board what I've heard from people. Like, it wasn't terrible. It's just forgettable, and there was nothing really great about it. And then I think Sony, though, it has forever immortalized it with that re-release. Like, this could have just been, it kind of failed in theaters and they would have eventually made their money back. But doing the big re-release based on the fact that it was trending on Twitter and YouTube, but somehow being so tone deaf as to not realize it was people mocking the movie and just go, we're just going to dump millions more in this thing and do a big re-release of it. And of course, that got the "it's Morbin time" meme going, which is priceless.
Definitely. Cool. All right. Well, we strayed a little, but you can, if you've not seen Morbius, you can enjoy at least 3 cartridges worth of Morbius on a Game Boy Color. If you can kind of sweet talk Wolf into sending in his discs he made. But I think he started it to prove he could do it and then stopped, which with this movie I highly recommended was a good call. This thing,
I think the important thing now, we need to look at how do we make an episode of our show and put it onto a Game Boy Color or Game Boy Advance cartridge.
I'm shooting for the Virtual Boy. I want the Virtual Boy version of Bog Panda. So we'll see. If you have a platform you think we should be on, folks, let us know. But yeah, we need to do a show on a cartridge of some sort. That would be fun. It's going to require work and skill, so we're going to need help. So
somebody watching this who knows any of that stuff.
Yeah, have talent and stuff. We'd like to steal it for a while. That'd be great. Okay, cool. Anything else?
That's it, sir.
Cool. Thanks for watching, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.